Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a king who had everything he could ever want. He had riches beyond measure, a palace that glittered like a jewel, and a heart full of kindness. One day, the king decided to hold a contest. He invited all the young men in the kingdom to participate. He told them that whoever solved a simple riddle would become his son-in-law and marry his beautiful daughter, Princess Amara. Many young men tried, but none could solve the riddle. Then one day, a young man named Elias came to the palace. He was not rich or powerful, but he was clever and quick-witted. When he heard about the king's riddle, he too wanted to try his luck. The king was impressed by Elias's confidence and allowed him to participate in the contest. But before the king revealed the riddle to Elias, he gave him a warning. "My riddle is not an easy one," he said, "and many have tried and failed. If you cannot answer correctly, you will be put to death." Elias was not afraid. "I am not afraid of your riddle," he replied confidently. "Just tell me what it is." The king revealed his riddle. "I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish." Which is that? "What am I?" Elias thought for a moment. He knew that the answer must be something that fit all these clues, and then he realized what it was. "You are a map," he said. The king was impressed. He had expected many different answers, but this one was both unexpected and correct. "You are right," the king said. "You have solved my riddle. You may marry my daughter and become my son-in-law." Elias was overjoyed. He thanked the king for the honor and accepted his offer. The wedding was a grand affair. The entire kingdom celebrated the union of Elias and Princess Amara. But while everyone else was celebrating, Elias couldn't help but think about the king's riddle. He had answered it correctly and won the prize, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it than met the eye. He decided to visit the royal library and see if he could find any clues. There he discovered an ancient book that contained the history of the kingdom. As he read through the book, he learned that the king had a secret past. Before he became the benevolent ruler of the kingdom, he had been a powerful warrior who had conquered many lands. But he had done terrible things in the name of conquest, including killing innocent people and destroying their homes. Elias was shocked to learn this. He had always thought that the king was a good and kind man, but now he wasn't so sure. He wondered if the king's riddle was a test to see if Elias was truly worthy of his daughter's hand. Had he been chosen because he was clever enough to solve the riddle, but also because he was brave enough to face the truth about the king? He thought about the other young men who had tried and failed to solve the riddle. Were they not clever enough, or had they simply refused to accept the king's dark past? Elias didn't know the answer, but he was determined to find out. He began to investigate the king's past, and what he uncovered was shocking. The king was not just a ruthless conqueror, he was also a sorcerer, who had used dark magic to gain power. He had enslaved the people of a neighboring kingdom and drained their life force to keep himself young and strong. As Elias delved deeper into the mystery, he put himself in danger. The king was a powerful man, and he would stop at nothing to protect his secrets. Elias was not afraid. He was determined to expose the truth, even if it cost him his life. With the help of a wise old mage, Elias uncovered the king's darkest secret. The king was using the life force of the people he had enslaved to keep himself immortal. This was why he had held the contest, to find someone who was clever enough to solve his riddle and become his heir. By passing on his power, he could ensure that his immortality would continue. But Elias had a plan to stop him. He knew that the king was vulnerable to magic. So he asked the wise old mage to create a powerful spell that would break the king's immortality and restore his humanity. On the day of the full moon, when the king was at his most vulnerable, Elias confronted him in the royal court. The king was furious and tried to attack Elias with his magic. But the spell that the mage had cast protected Elias, using the king's own magic against him. Elias broke the king's immortality and transformed him back into a mortal man. The king was weak and powerless, and Elias had him imprisoned in the dungeon. He then freed the people who had been enslaved by the king and restored them to their rightful homes. The people of the kingdom were grateful to Elias for saving them from the king's tyranny. They hailed him as a hero and begged him to become their king, but Elias refused. He knew that he was not a ruler, but a simple man who had been chosen to do a great deed. He chose to return to his humble village, where he lived the rest of his days as a hero. Meanwhile, the former king spent his remaining days in the dungeon, alone and forgotten. He had lost everything he had ever known, and he had only himself to blame. The people of the kingdom had suffered under his rule, and he had brought this suffering upon himself. And so the story of Elias, the unassuming hero who had saved a kingdom from tyranny, became a legend passed down from generation to generation. It was a reminder that even the most powerful rulers were not above justice, and that even the simplest of people could become heroes.